I'm Reed Holson. Welcome to Sioux Falls Directions on CityLink. We take an opportunity to visit with one of the 12 city department directors here at the city of Sioux Falls and see what's going on and get some background for you to understand what all the city departments do. And today, Chief Matt Burns of the Sioux Falls Police Department is here. Welcome to Directions, Matt.
Thank you.
Now, has it been 2 years now since you've been appointed chief by the mayor?
About 2.5.
2.5 years. It's gone by fast.
Yes, it has.
So give us some background on your career. I know you've been in the military, and how did you start as a police department, a police officer, and where did it all begin?
Yeah, I came to the city as an officer, started in the patrol section in 1996. Before that, I had been in the United States Air Force, served as a radar technician, and then I went to college and received my bachelor's degree in criminal justice administration. So starting in 1996, I think the city was maybe around 125,000 people, if that. And it was a different time, certainly, in a different city. Population growth changes things. It changes service delivery and things like that. But as I came up through the ranks, I was on the patrol for about 7.5 years, working a district, working with businesses and citizens every day. And then went into the detective bureau and worked fraud cases in the property crime section for 4 years.
So a lot of background. So what's really changed in the 19 years when you look at when you started your first patrol in 19 years versus now? We're nearly over 200,000 people here.
Yes, very soon. I think in the next 3 to 4 years we'll certainly be at that 200,000 level, given our population growth. And what's changed is the city's just much busier. You know, we're close to 78 square miles of city alone now. Many lane miles that we patrol and that our great street department takes care of for us. And there's just the dynamic has changed. Downtown has changed. There's more people living downtown. It's certainly more vibrant. You know, we've got additional schools. We've got additional businesses in our city, and it just creates an environment that's much busier. And in addition to that, our MSA, the four-county area, has grown as well. So we have many more visitors to our city and people from outside, actual being residents of Sioux Falls, you know, working and seeking entertainment and shopping and seeking health care in our city every day.
How's the force grown over the 20 years that you've been here as far as headcount?
Yeah, we've grown by a significant amount. And in the years I've been chief alone, we've added 12 officers in the 2.5 years that I've been chief, just to keep up with the population growth.
How has law enforcement changed? It's become, as many things in public safety, more of a science and a measured approach of what you do.
Right, dealing with people and talking to people and building relationships, that's all very similar. But what's changed the most about the job is technology, is social media, is the way media covers our work and covers government. There's far more scrutiny, and that's not a bad thing. But we just have to remember all the time that the world has gotten much smaller because of technology and the rapid way that an event can translate to the world stage.
And one of your goals coming in as chief was to use technology. So how are you utilizing? How are you innovating?
Absolutely. We've raised certainly our profile on social media. We've done that to improve our communication and outreach to the citizens, to businesses, not only in our city but in our region, and tell them what we're about and why we do what we do. It's a public service piece. We want to get immediately things such as street closures, such as an area that maybe we're working in. If there's an event at a school or a business and we need to close down an area, we want the public to know that rapidly. We've gained many thousands more additional persons to our Twitter account and our Facebook accounts in the past 2.5 years, and so you're going to see us continue to leverage social media in greater ways just to increase our messaging.
Do you like us as citizens communicating with you on Twitter and Facebook?
Absolutely. It's a great way to exchange information. Our social media team answers questions on a regular basis through Facebook and through Twitter, and we don't want to shut down any avenue to communicate with citizens. We have the city CRM system. They can certainly always call us. We get calls through Metro Communications for us to communicate to, and we still get letters, old-fashioned letters. So we want that, we need that, and we value that input.
How important are neighborhoods and neighborhood responsibility for our safety and keeping an eye on things? Does that help you?
It absolutely helpful. You know, we have budget authority for 263 sworn officers for 2018, but even every officer, if they were on the street at the same time, is still insufficient in in regards to the information that we can get from just citizens. And I say that because every citizen and their observations and their inputs is critical to our mission. You just can't have, resources are finite. You can't have enough eyes out there just watching and observing and reporting. You know, we're in the era of, and it's a cliche, but it's, if you see something, say something. And it's simple, but it's powerful and it's true. Everyone's business is the public safety, and we appreciate that input and need it.
The equipment that you have and how things in technology has improved, it's almost like a police car is almost like a Star Trek episode. There's so much in there. Talk about the tools and the ability that it's helped you to do your job better.
It really is. It's a wonder of technology inside a modern police vehicle. We have laptop computers that are ruggedized, that every police officer gets all their calls for service and their dispatch destinations and the type of calls that are on there. We have mobile printers in there for citations or warning tickets and things like this. We have cameras, advanced cameras inside the car with a body mic on each officer. We have other technologies that runs certainly the lights and the sirens, and so that's all helpful. That's all brings communication and information much more closely to that officer that helps them be more efficient, and it helps them frankly be safer.
How often do we turn over police cars? People always ask us all the time, when do they wear out?
Yeah, it's about 2 years, and it kind of depends. Some cars are run 2 shifts a day, patrol cars, the Merc squads, and some actually get 3 shifts a day. The city tries to turn out a vehicle in about 100,000 or just under 100,000 miles, and that's typically what our squad cars get on them, the marked units.
It's a career, it's a calling to be in public service, in public safety especially, whether it's the police department or the fire department. What would you say to people, young people that are considering a career in law enforcement?
And I'll tell them what I tell every group of recruit officers that I meet with on their first day, is we need persons who see themselves as public servants first, who have a heart for service, who want to make a difference in their community and give back, that understand and see that there are things out there greater than themselves and have a desire to be a part of it. And we are actively recruiting and bringing those type of persons into city employment all across the city, but specifically the police department. We're very proud of that, but we have more positions to fill in the future. So if you're actively looking for a career in law enforcement, please contact us, talk to us. We'd be happy to bring you in and show you our department, what we do and why we do it, and all the interesting and cool things that we're able to do in our community and interface with our citizens, and how we keep our community safe. It's a very honorable profession, and one that we continue to need very good people to do.
People think about applying for it, becoming a police officer. They see the TVs and the movies. It's not all tussles and physical things. That can happen. Yes. But truly, what is the essence of being a police officer for someone that's saying, I really don't want to get into the physicality of it? Is there still a career place for someone like that?
Absolutely. Now, everybody that comes into our department starts on the Uniformed Services Patrol. But that's really where you learn how to be a police officer and get the best sense of the police function, the law enforcement, the order maintenance, the crime prevention, but also the community caretaker piece. And so those are all vital functions of our department, but that's really where you learn the job of communicating with people, building relationships, building rapport, understanding that most of the time when you get called to a scene, you're not meeting folks perhaps on their best day. There's some manner of a crisis going on, and it's our job to insert ourselves in that situation because they've called us there or someone has, and just try to make things better and find a resolution to that situation.
Many of the officers we talk about, they love the relationship part of it and really the connection with people.
Absolutely. When you're able to just communicate with people of different ethnicities, different businesses, different backgrounds, it is rewarding. It is, and you really get a sense of what the fabric is of our city and how that diversity makes us great.
All right, we're going to take a break, Matt. And if you're interested in applying to become a police officer and going through that process, as Matt says, we're recruiting quite often. All you have to do is go to siouxfalls.org, click on Human Resources, and you'll find a button to click on for the Sioux Falls Police Department, and put your application in, and we'll let you know when the recruiting is happening. Again, that's at siouxfalls.org under Human Resources. When we come back on Directions with Chief Matt Burns, we'll talk about his view of the state of the city as it relates to the Sioux Falls Police Department. We'll be right back. Looking for fun summer employment? Do you like working with kids? Look no further. Sioux Falls Parks and Recreation is seeking reliable teammates to work in a variety of summer seasonal roles, from playground staff and youth leaders to pool positions and lifeguards. To learn more about these opportunities, log on to siouxfalls.org/parks-jobs. Positions begin at $10 per hour. Hi, welcome back to Sioux Falls Directions. I'm Reed Holson. We're here with Chief Matt Burns from the Sioux Falls Police Department. Well, Chief, lots of big challenges in the city that's growing and becoming much more diverse. Give us an overview of what you think your biggest challenges are right now for the Sioux Falls Police Department as you grow along with the city.
Certainly. You know, our biggest challenge right now, and we've heard this recently from the state level, from the Attorney General, and certainly from the Sheriff, we're all on the same page, Reed, is that the growing and continuing addiction to and trafficking of illegal drugs in our city. It's methamphetamine. That's our biggest problem.
So meth is still a big issue?
Yeah, absolutely. Opiates is becoming an increasingly concerning issue in our city, and the addiction to opiate prescription painkillers, but still marijuana. We still see a lot of marijuana. But I'll tell you, the biggest concern is our number of methamphetamine arrests. We're up significantly, felony arrests for methamphetamine possession over last year, and last year was a record over the previous before. And our drug task force investigated nearly 3,000 narcotics cases last year, and that was a record. So that continues to be the biggest driver of methamphetamine possession and addiction of crime in our city, violent crime as well. While the numbers have certainly grown quite a bit over the last, say, 5 years, they track violent crime. They track very closely with the increase of methamphetamine in our community. Even with that, as of the 2016 FBI numbers, that violent crime rate put us at the national average, even with that market growth. Well, I will tell you, I'm not satisfied with the national average for Sioux Falls. I find Sioux Falls to be and has been an exceptional city with many opportunities, much promise. It's a great place to raise a family and live and work, and it's a very safe city. But we are keenly aware of that rise in the drug use, the illicit drug trade, and addictions in our city, and the crime that drives. And we're working actively to combat it. In fact, we've got many things that we're going to pursue yet this year in 2018 to hopefully mirror the crime rates that we saw in 2017. But because even with all the issues that I've noted in the perception of our city, in 2017 we actually saw 13 of our 15 tracked crime categories go down. It's a 1 year, but it's a positive direction, certainly. I want to be very transparent with the citizens on that. But we do have significant challenges in regards to narcotics and the crime that drives. But also, you know, we're up to our authorized strength as at the end of 2017, and we've authority to add 7 more for 2018 through the council and through the administration, and we're going to get those officers hired and get them out on the street and actively appointed in that direction.
So that's one way to focus on that is more officers on the street, but this war on drugs has been generational.
Yes.
What do we do? I mean, generations have talked about this. You can't get rid of it. I mean, how do we handle it?
Well, it all starts with the demand for the product. Methamphetamine has never been cheaper in our community, and it's never been more available. And we know that the established trafficking routes are through the southern border. I've had talks with federal authorities on this and our own Attorney General. And so the track we're taking in this year is to try some additional local interdiction efforts and working with our local partners with the Minnehaha County and the Highway Patrol. And so you're going to see some more of those activities on our part because just to try to stem the flow. Also, our drug task force is going to continue to actively pursue those drug trafficking networks and hold those persons to account. And I suspect that maybe our cases will be at another record for 2018 just like they were last year, but we are actively working that problem. Now, you can't arrest your way out of a drug problem, so there's got to be other fronts opened up in this. And so I am a firm believer that we need additional treatment resources because it is an addiction. It's a crime, but there is an underlying addiction which drives that crime. And so I just implore our governments at the state level and the federal level to give us additional resources to fight the addiction as we do combat the crime that comes from it. I think that's vital to get this cornered, and I'm going to advocate for that strongly.
Mental health and an illness.
Yes.
Obviously, plays a big part in this.
They're co-occurring disorders, they call it, with many addictions. Mental health is a part of it. I'm on a part of a team along with the sheriff and other persons from the city and the county and private entities, the healthcare entities in our city, to form a triage center and to see what that looks like. And so we're about a year into that process, gathering data, trying to see where that data leads us, and if there's some cost savings on the part of some of those entities that could incur if we centralize a facility to have an input piece. For many of the folks caught up in the throes of addiction to drugs and to alcohol, but there's positive steps being taken. There's collaboration behind the scenes that gives force to these efforts, and I'm confident that that's a positive direction for our city, and I'm hopeful that we can pull that off.
And the opioid crisis is really incredible, and now with fentanyl being introduced, and carfentanil, which is, what I understand, a large animal tranquilizer.
Yes.
This stuff is very, very potent and dangerous. Not only for the people using it, but for any of us that come in contact with it.
It is. It's very scary. We've seen cities to our east and on the east coast through the Ohio River Valley and Appalachia just be absolutely inundated with overdose, and their death rates from overdoses are just going through the roof, and it's an extremely troubling epidemic in those areas. I'll tell you candidly, we're starting to see a few more drug overdoses in our own city. Some of them are from methamphetamine and some of them from opiates, but we're watching it very closely. We want to quickly find out if that's something that's going to try to take a foothold in Sioux Falls and actively work to combat it. I have taken a measure to issue every one of our patrol officers and our detectives and our SROs with naloxone. The sheriff has done the same thing in the county, and what that is, that counteracts the effects of someone who is in an opiate overdose. And so every one of our patrol officers and SROs has that at the ready inside as part of their equipment. And it's for their own officer safety, but we've also used it in the field before EMS could get there to try to counteract the reaction to an opiate overdose. And that's real, that's happening in our city, but it's something that we recognize and we're combating.
And for what we understand, when they overdose on an opioid, it suppresses the respiration system, isn't that right? They stop breathing?
They stop breathing.
And that's why you need to give that Narcan?
That's exactly what happens. It blocks the receptors, be a bit technical, in the brain where the opiate, the chemical would attach. It blocks those receptors and so counteracts the effects and allows a person to start breathing again. And we've seen people literally come out of a comatose-like state. It's not that, but it's like because they're unconscious and their breathing is depressed, and if not treated, if not reversed, yeah, they can very easily die.
It's scary for individuals because it knows no economic barrier. So give us some advice as family members in seeing this. What should we be looking for and what we should be concerned with? Someone that may be starting to use opioids inappropriately or maybe have an addiction problem?
Well, it all starts with close observation. And we may see things in the lives of say, our child or a spouse or a close family friend that just doesn't seem right. And you don't want to believe that that's going on and that's the case, but sometimes it just takes a little extra overt effort just to say, are you doing okay? Is there something going on? And look at their habits. Look at their habits. Are those changing? And does it appear that, say, an opiate has a very depressive effect on the nervous system and the body? And it's pretty clear when a person has the effects or showing the effects of using an opiate. And just talk to them. Encourage them to get some help. You got to identify the problem before you can have an action plan to deal with it. And I just implore our citizens, if they have someone in their life, someone they care about, or it's a friend or an acquaintance, you've got to take some action and start talking to them and get them some help and some treatment. There are treatment options in our city. Just last week it was announced that we've got a whole nother treatment platform coming on board, and that is good news because that is firm help coming to the addiction in our city.
Just saw some training here recently that said that most people's gateway into opioids are medicine cabinets and medications that are left around. And I know you have a service where, no questions asked, you can bring unused medications and drop them off at law enforcement center. Yeah,
we have a receptacle. In fact, we added a second one last year because it was being used, and we want it to be used. I mean, that's the whole point. Unused medications are just laying around, are just an invitation to someone who perhaps has an addiction themselves, or maybe wants to make some money by selling it, and we can just totally do away with that situation if we just get rid of it. But we ask you not to just flush it down, down into the sewer, because that's not helpful. We have a safe space where we'll take those, and they get actually destroyed by our crime lab team.
No questions asked. No one's watching you and wondering
No
what you're
questions
bringing.
asked.
Any of that.
We want to get that out of it's not used, it's excess, to get it out of our city.
All right, that sounds good. Crime rate. I mean, there's been perceptions out there, and some of the bigger crimes obviously get a lot of news coverage and
Right.
so forth. As you talked about it earlier, but has there been a major shift in the crime rate in Sioux Falls?
Not outside the growth of our population. We have seen our felony arrests nearly double over the last 5 years, but most of those are for possession of methamphetamine. Every methamphetamine arrest is a felony. So when you hear, and I've said it, the sheriff said it, that our felony arrests and charges through the state's attorney's office have doubled, yeah, that's mostly due to our meth arrests and controlled substance arrest problem. It's not completely due to that. As you see the meth arrests go up, we've seen more arrests for aggravated assault, for crimes of a violent nature, and things like that. So it's directly related to that meth problem. But we have seen those go up. But I would say that we've also grown by a significant number of persons. Last year, just about 4,700 persons alone. Over the last 2 years, nearly 10,000. I was seeing some statistics from, I believe, 2011. Well, we were 158,000 people in 2011 and 183,200, as stated by my friend Mike Cooper recently. And so that's 25,000 people since 2011. It's hard to keep up with things when there's that rate of growth, but I'll tell you, our administration over that time, and certainly our city council, has been very mindful of the public safety needs of our department and been very supportive.
With all that diversity that comes in, how are we training our officers to relate? You talked about building relationships being so important. There's lots of different cultures, lots of different people, and lots of different backgrounds. How do we relate to them?
Absolutely. It starts when we hire them. Through the interview process, we try to identify folks that have good communication skills, because regardless of the part of our community you're talking to, you've got to be able to communicate. And so that's a skill that we certainly desire when we hire folks. And then it goes to their training out in-house. They have several weeks in-house training, and also through the law enforcement training in peer through the state academy. And so there's courses they take on report writing, but they also take courses where they're doing reality-based training and learning those communication skills. And part of that is with diverse persons. We have elements in our community, the community resource officers who are out there on a daily basis, trying to build new relationships and seeking out persons not only in the ethnic communities of our city, but all areas of our city, and just again reaching out, building a relationship, building a rapport, saying, hey, this is what we do, this is our mission, and this is why it's important, and we're a partner with you. We have officers that go to every new class that is brought in from Lutheran Social Services, a group of immigrants and refugees, and we sit down with them and we have some time to explain the basic framework of our system and our laws. But part of that is to raise their level of understanding and knowledge about how it's probably different from the country they're coming from. But we also understand that in many countries, the government and certainly law enforcement is not trusted whatsoever. So we want to, as soon as we can, reach out to them and say, look, we are a professional organization that needs you to be successful in our community and wants you to be successful, and we're here to help you. Please, if you have any issues, concerns, reach out to us. We will extend a hand of friendship, and we just want you to know that it may not be like at all what you've expected or experienced in your country, but we're here to help.
Public safety is your name, as you said, and service is very important. We're in a day and an age where we question whether we're safe in public places anymore, sadly. It seems to be things are increasing in schools. The students recently had their remembrance and demonstration of Lakeland. Here in Sioux Falls, churches are forming security coalitions to talk about the security of their facilities. How are you addressing that? I mean, you can't be everywhere at all times. So give us some insight on how we can help protect ourselves and what the department's doing to help us be safe. Absolutely.
Well, we have a 14-member school resource officer team that's assigned to schools all over our city and have just an incredible relationship, not only with the administrators from IPC down, but they build relationships and make connections with students in those schools every day. That's a force multiplier for us. Those relationships create situations where those students see things or are concerned about things in those schools, and because they have those relationships with those SROs, we've been able to get valuable information and maybe intercede in something, whether it's a crime going on or a greater concern, before it gets to be a problem. Our community resource officers are out there making those relationships, and they talk to church staffs, they talk to business staffs on what they can do to increase their own physical security, about being more observant, about just simple things they can do inside their own businesses to increase the security and the perception of same with their clients, with their customers. So that's a function that our community resource officer team does in conjunction with our crime prevention. We have our crime prevention officer kind of doing some of those duties too, but they're busy with that every day. And we will consult with any business that calls us, and we've done so with businesses and churches on just their security plans. We'll do a walkthrough with them and make suggestions. It's too bad that has to happen in our country, but in my view, it is overall, if it raises the level of security across the board, that conversation, sadly, in 2017 needs to happen. And so overall, I think that's a positive thing, that folks are more aware of their surroundings and more aware of the people that are around them and that care about the safety of everyone.
And Chief, as we wrap up, let's talk again about the importance of us as citizens. Neighborhood watches, even working with our community development department here at the City of Sioux Falls to get neighborhoods to come together.
You know what? There's no substitute for neighbors talking with neighbors and having their own collective security in their neighborhoods or the greater area in mind, foremost in mind. The citizens and the eyes that they provide, and then in the observations they have, and give that information back to us, is vital. There's many crimes that we've been able to solve because of an observant citizen either called us directly or made a call to Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers of the Sioux Empire is absolutely vital to our mission and the tips we get through them. So I would just encourage to keep that communication up, keep talking, keep working with us, and just look for ways to build more relationships and more connections, because that network of communication, observation, raises the level of safety for everyone. That's going to be my message. It has been my message and will continue to be, and we're going to support that through our own efforts.
Some important numbers to remember before we go. Obviously, 911.
Absolutely.
When's the right time to call 911? Some people get a little skittish about that. It's not really an emergency. When should I call 911?
You know, if a citizen has a concern and they want to express that concern to law enforcement, it doesn't have to be an outright emergency situation. You know, that is the best and fastest gateway to get someone on the line that can start a resolution process of their concern. And if it's a priority call or an exigent matter, absolutely. But even if it's something that a person, if they don't feel like that's an absolute emergency, you know what? We still want to hear from you. So if 911, if there's a concern that it's not that emergency, there's 367-7000 is the non-emergency line to Metro Communications. Please get a hold of us somehow. And if there's a tip that somebody wants to give, 367-7007 is the Crime Stoppers number. That's vitally important. They're a wonderful partner for us.
And plenty of ways to get in touch. And when you see a police officer in your neighborhood, okay to stop and talk to them?
Please do. Please do. And if the officer's out on a call, that should be fairly obvious. If the lights are on or something like that, or if they look like they're earnestly pursuing something, maybe wait until they don't appear like they're earnestly involved in something, because you never know what if they're on a call. But please, the more communication we have and outreach from our citizens, the better we all are.
All right. Police Chief Matt Burns, thanks for your time on Directions.
Thank you.
All right. You want to know more about the Sioux Falls Police Department and those numbers, they're on our website at siouxfalls.org. Just click on the Sioux Falls Police Department. And remember, if you're interested in a career in law enforcement, we would love to talk to you as well. Just go to Human Resources on siouxfalls.org. I'm Reed Holson for Sioux Falls Directions. We'll see you next time.